Captain Jake Morrison stepped off the transport shuttle and looked up at the massive towers of Council Station Alpha. The alien structure stretched so high that its top disappeared into the artificial atmosphere of the space station. Jake had seen pictures before, but being here in person made him feel very small. The towers were made of some kind of crystal that changed colors as he watched. Purple became blue, became green in endless waves that made his eyes hurt if he stared too long. Admiral Lisa Carter walked beside him. She was the highest-ranking military officer that Earth had ever sent to a Galactic Council meeting. Her uniform was plain compared to the elaborate outfits worn by the alien delegates they passed in the corridors. A group of tall, bird-like creatures with silver feathers swept past them without even looking down. Their robes trailed behind them and seemed to float in the air. "Remember what we discussed on the trip here," Carter said quietly to Jake. "We watch and we listen. We do not speak unless they ask us a direct question. Earth wants us to learn as much as we can about how things work here." Jake nodded. He understood the mission. Humanity had only been part of the Galactic Council for 3 years. Before that, no one in the galaxy even knew that humans existed. Earth's first contact with aliens had happened when one of their scout ships broke down near Jupiter. The aliens were surprised to find an intelligent species using such primitive technology to explore space. The council chamber was enormous. Jake estimated it could hold 10,000 beings easily. Floating platforms were arranged in circles that rose up toward a dome ceiling. Each platform held delegates from different alien species. Jake recognized some of them from the briefing materials he had studied. The Zelkarians looked like living crystals that reflected light in strange ways. The hive queens resembled giant insects with too many arms and eyes that glowed red in the dim lighting. The ethereals were harder to see because they were made of energy that shifted and moved like colored smoke. A human assistant led them to their platform. It was near the bottom of the chamber and very small compared to the others. Jake noticed that many of the alien delegates were staring at them. Some seemed curious, but most looked like they thought humans were a joke. He heard clicking sounds and whistling noises that his translator earpiece told him were alien laughter. Commander Ryan Phillips was already waiting on their platform. He was Carter's aide and had been studying alien languages and customs for 2 years. "How are the preparations going?" Carter asked him as they took their seats. "The Zelkarian War Minister is about to give a presentation about their expansion plans," Phillips replied. "Intel suggests they are planning to take control of 12 new star systems in the next 5 years. The other council members seem excited about it. Dr. Elena Rodriguez joined them on the platform. She was Earth's leading expert on alien biology and had volunteered for this mission to study how different species interacted with each other. "I have been watching the social dynamics here," she whispered. "The species seem to be grouped by their military power. The strongest ones get the best platforms and the most respect. Everyone else just agrees with whatever they say." A deep booming sound filled the chamber and all conversation stopped. The Zelkarian War Minister rose from his platform near the top of the dome. His crystal body was twice the size of a human and reflected the chamber lights like a prism. When he spoke, his voice sounded like breaking glass, but the translator made his words clear. "Fellow council members," the War Minister began, "the Zelkarian Empire continues to bring order and civilization to the galaxy. Our fleets have successfully conquered the Margoth system and established mining operations on 6 new worlds. The primitive species living there have been relocated to suitable planets where they can live simple lives under our protection." Applause filled the chamber. The alien delegates made various sounds of approval. Jake noticed that the smaller delegations near the bottom clapped the loudest even though they looked scared. "Our next phase of expansion will bring even greater benefits to the Council," the War Minister continued. "We have identified 12 systems that contain valuable resources, but are currently controlled by species that lack the technology to use them properly. The Zelkarian Empire will liberate these resources for the good of all council members." More applause. Jake watched as holographic star maps appeared above the chamber, showing the systems the Zelkarians wanted to conquer. He recognized some of the star patterns from Earth's astronomical surveys. These systems were not that far from human space. High Counselor Vextar spoke next. He was the leader of the council and belonged to a species that looked like giant snakes with arms. His platform was at the very top of the chamber and covered in gold decorations. "The Council appreciates the Zelkarian Empire's commitment to galactic prosperity," he said. Are there any concerns about these expansion plans? Several alien delegates stood up to praise the Zelkarian Empire. They talked about how conquest brought peace, and how primitive species were better off under the control of advanced civilizations. Jake felt sick listening to them, but kept his face neutral like Carter had taught him. What about the human territories? Vextar asked suddenly. His snake-like head turned toward their small platform. The new species has claimed 3 star systems. Do these pose any strategic concerns? The Zelkarian War Minister's crystal body flashed with what Jake's briefing materials had told him was amusement. The humans are barely capable of interstellar travel, he said. Their ships use chemical rockets and primitive fusion reactors. They have no military worth mentioning, and their 3 colonies contain fewer than 10 million individuals total. They pose no strategic value to anyone. Laughter filled the chamber again. Jake felt his hands clench into fists, but Carter touched his arm gently to remind him to stay calm. Perhaps we should consider offering the humans protection, suggested one of the Hive Queens. Her voice sounded like clicking metal. Their technology is so primitive that they might benefit from guidance by more advanced species. An excellent suggestion, Vextar said. The humans can keep one of their colonies as a homeworld. The other 2 systems would be much better managed by species with proper technology and experience. Carter finally spoke. Her voice was quiet and respectful. Honored council members, humanity is grateful for your consideration. We hope to prove ourselves worthy of membership in this great alliance. Perhaps we could discuss the details of any arrangements at a later time, when we have had a chance to consult with our government. Vexatar nodded dismissively. Of course. There is no urgency. We will allow the humans time to understand their situation and make the wise choice. The meeting continued for several more hours, but Jake barely heard the rest of it. He was thinking about the casual way the aliens had talked about taking human colonies. They spoke like humans were children who needed adults to make decisions for them. None of them seemed to think that humanity might object to being conquered. When the session finally ended, Carter led her team back to their quarters on the station. The rooms were small and plain compared to the elaborate suites given to the major species. Jake noticed that their quarters were being watched by alien security guards who tried to look casual, but were obviously monitoring everything humans did. Well, that went about as expected, Carter said once they were alone. They see us exactly the way Earth hoped they would. Phillips activated a small device that would prevent alien listening equipment from working. The arrogance is even worse than our analysts predicted, he said. They really believe their own propaganda about bringing civilization to primitive species. Rodriguez was taking notes on a tablet. I counted at least 6 different species that seemed genuinely afraid of the major powers, she said. The Council is not an alliance of equals. It is a protection racket run by the strongest species. Carter nodded. Which is exactly why our real mission here is so important. Every word they said today was recorded by our hidden sensors. Every casual mention of fleet movements and military capabilities. Every detail about their technology and tactics. Jake felt better knowing that humanity was not as helpless as they appeared. The mission briefing had explained that Earth had been preparing for this day for decades. While the galaxy saw primitive rockets, the truth was very different. But their survival depended on keeping that truth hidden until the right moment. How long do you think we have before they decide to act on their plans? Phillips asked. Based on what we heard today, I would guess 6 months to a year, Carter replied. They want to finish their current conquests before starting new ones. That gives us time to complete our preparations. Rodriguez looked worried. What if our preparations are not enough? These species have been conquering worlds for thousands of years. They have technology and experience we can barely imagine. Carter smiled for the first time since they had arrived at the station. Elena, you are thinking like they want you to think. You are assuming that the species with the biggest fleets and the loudest voices are actually the strongest. But Earth learned something very important from our own history. The side that wins is not always the side that looks most powerful at the start. Jake thought about that as he prepared for sleep in his small quarters. Through the porthole Major Chris Henderson walked through the corridors of Deep Station 7. The facility was buried 3 miles beneath the Nevada desert and officially did not exist. Above ground, the area looked like empty wasteland, but below the surface lay the most advanced military command center humanity had ever built. The walls were lined with screens showing star maps and ship movements from across the galaxy. Hundreds of officers and technicians worked at stations that monitored every major alien civilization. Henderson stopped at the Central Command platform where Lieutenant Katie Palmer was analyzing the latest intelligence reports. Palmer was only 26 years old, but had already proven herself to be one of the best tactical analysts in the human fleet. Her screen showed the positions of every known alien warship within 50 light-years of Earth. "Status report, Lieutenant," Henderson said as he joined her at the display. Palmer pointed to a cluster of red dots near the edge of the holographic map. "The Zelkarian Third Fleet just finished conquering the Margoth system, sir. They lost 12 ships but gained control of 4 mining worlds. Intelligence suggests they will need at least 6 months to repair their damaged vessels and establish proper defenses." Henderson nodded. The Human Intelligence Network had been tracking Zelkarian fleet movements for 20 years. Every ship, every battle, every tactical decision was recorded and studied. The aliens had no idea that human observers were watching their every move. "What about the other major powers?" Henderson asked. Palmer changed the display to show different colored dots representing various alien fleets. "The Hive Queens are massing forces near the Centauri sector. Our deep space monitors detected increased bioship production in their breeding worlds. They appear to be preparing for a major offensive, but we have not yet determined their target. The ethereal movements were harder to track because their energy-based ships could phase through normal matter. But human scientists had developed new sensor arrays that could detect the quantum signatures left by ethereal vessels. Even beings of pure energy could not hide from properly designed equipment." Commander Alex Torres entered the command center, carrying a data pad filled with classified reports. Torres was in charge of the Phantom Fleet program, humanity's most secret military project. "Major Henderson, I have updates on our ship construction progress." Henderson followed Torres to a secure briefing room where the walls were covered with technical diagrams and photographs. The images showed spacecraft that looked nothing like the primitive chemical rockets the aliens associated with human technology. These vessels were sleek and deadly, incorporating design elements stolen from every major alien civilization. "Construction of the first squadron is complete," Torres reported. "We now have 36 vessels equipped with hybrid technology, ethereal phase drives, Hive biocomputing systems, and Zelkarian energy weapons all integrated into hulls made from materials the aliens have never seen before." Henderson studied the photographs. The ships were beautiful in a terrifying way. Their hulls seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Weapon ports were hidden behind panels that could open in milliseconds. Most importantly, they produced no energy signatures that alien sensors could detect. "Have we tested the stealth systems against actual alien detection equipment?" Henderson asked. Torres smiled. 3 of our ships spent last week shadowing a Zelkarian patrol fleet. They passed within 1,000 kilometers of the alien vessels multiple times. The Zelkarians never knew they were there. The success of the stealth tests was crucial to humanity's survival strategy. Earth's military planners knew they could not match the alien fleets in terms of raw numbers. The Zelkarian Empire alone had over 10,000 major warships, but numbers meant nothing if the enemy could not find you until it was too late. Colonel Nina Brooks arrived at the briefing carrying files marked with the highest security classifications. Brooks was responsible for psychological warfare and had spent 15 years studying how alien minds worked. Her research had revealed weaknesses that could be exploited when the time came for open conflict. "Major, I have completed my analysis of alien military doctrine," Brooks said as she activated a wall display. "Each species has developed tactics based on their natural advantages, but they have critical blind spots." The display showed battle recordings captured by hidden human observers. Henderson watched Zelkarian crystal ships moving in perfect geometric formations. Their tactics emphasized overwhelming firepower and direct assault. The Hive Queens used swarm tactics with thousands of small ships attacking from multiple directions. The Ethereals relied on their ability to phase through enemy defenses and strike from unexpected angles. "The problem is that each species fights the same way every time," Brooks continued. "They have been so successful using their natural advantages that they never learned to adapt. A Zelkarian commander will always choose a frontal assault. A Hive Queen will always use swarm tactics. An Ethereal will always try to phase behind enemy lines." Henderson saw the implications immediately, "which means we can predict their moves and prepare counters for every strategy." "Exactly," Brooks replied. "But more importantly, none of them have ever faced an enemy that could combine all their advantages. They have no experience fighting ships that can phase like ethereals, swarm like hives, and hit like Zelkarian dreadnoughts all at the same time. The meeting was interrupted by an urgent message from Deep Space Monitoring, Station Delta 9. The station was hidden in an asteroid field near the edge of human territory and had been watching alien shipping lanes for 12 years. Lieutenant Commander Scott Hayes appeared on the communication screen looking excited. "Major Henderson, we have detected unusual Zelkarian fleet movements," Hayes reported. "A task force of 50 ships just broke off from their main battle group and is heading toward the Outer Rim territories. Intelligence suggests this might be a reconnaissance mission to scout human defenses." Henderson felt his stomach tighten. If the Zelkarians were sending scouts to study human colonies, it meant they were preparing to act sooner than expected. "How long before they reach our territory?" "At their current speed, approximately 2 weeks, sir," Hayes replied. Torres looked worried. "Should we activate the defense fleets if they discover our real capabilities?" "No," Henderson said firmly. "We stick to the plan. Let them see exactly what they expect to see. Primitive colonies with minimal defenses, chemical rockets, and basic laser weapons. We cannot reveal our true strength until we are ready to use all of it." Brooks was already thinking ahead to the psychological aspects of the encounter. "We need to make sure their scouts report back that humans are weak and divided. I recommend we stage some fake arguments between colonial governors. Maybe arrange for one of our obsolete patrol ships to malfunction during their visit." Henderson approved the deception plan. Earth's survival depended on maintaining the illusion of weakness until the moment came to reveal the truth. Every alien who encountered humans had to believe they were seeing a primitive species barely capable of space travel. Dr. Maria Santos entered the briefing room, carrying biological samples from various alien species. Santos was the head of humanity's xenobiology program and had been studying alien physiology for 2 decades. Her research had revealed physical weaknesses that could be exploited in combat. "Major, I have disturbing news about the Hive Queens," Santos said as she activated a biological display. "Our analysis of captured bioship fragments indicates they are developing new warrior strains. These creatures appear to be specifically designed to fight in vacuum without life support." The implications were serious. If the Hive Queens were creating space-based warriors, it meant they were preparing for boarding actions against enemy ships. Traditional human tactics would be useless against creatures that could survive in the void between stars. "Do we have countermeasures?" Henderson asked. Santos nodded. "We have been developing weapons specifically designed to disrupt alien biology. Sonic frequencies that shatter Zelkarian crystal structures, electromagnetic pulses that scramble hive biocomputing systems, quantum resonators that can force ethereals back into solid form." Henderson felt some relief knowing that human scientists had been working on solutions to alien advantages, but he also knew that weapons were only part of the equation. Victory would depend on strategy, timing, and the ability to coordinate attacks across multiple star systems simultaneously. The briefing concluded with updates from field operatives stationed throughout alien space. For 20 years, humans who appeared to be simple traders, scientists, and diplomats had been gathering intelligence from inside alien governments. These deep-cover agents risked their lives every day to provide Earth with information about enemy plans and capabilities. Agent Lisa Morgan reported from the Zelkarian capital world that the Empire was planning a major military conference next month. Agent David Clark confirmed that Hive Queen breeding facilities were operating at maximum capacity. Agent Jennifer Walsh observed ethereal energy manipulation experiments that suggested they were developing new weapon technologies. Henderson realized that humanity's greatest advantage was not their hidden fleets or advanced weapons. It was the fact that aliens had no idea they were being watched. Every military secret, every tactical disc. Ambassador Peter Grant stood before the assembled Galactic Council watching as High Admiral Zekmoth of the Zelkarian Empire prepared to make his announcement. The crystal being's body reflected the chamber lights as he rose from his platform near the top of the dome. Grant had been expecting this moment for months, but his heart still raced as he prepared to play his part in humanity's greatest deception. "Honored council members," Zekmoth began, his voice ringing through the vast chamber like breaking glass. "The Zelkarian Empire has conducted a thorough survey of the territories claimed by the human species. Our analysis reveals that these star systems contain resources too valuable to remain under the control of such a primitive civilization. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembled delegates. Grant noticed that several of the smaller alien species looked uncomfortable, but none dared to speak against the Zelkarian Empire. The balance of power in the galaxy was clear and everyone understood their place in it. Therefore, Zekmoth continued, the Empire hereby declares that human space will be reorganized for the greater benefit of the Galactic Council. The humans will be relocated to a single world where they can live simple lives under our protection. Their 3 colony systems will be absorbed into the Empire and properly developed. Grant felt the eyes of thousands of alien beings turning toward the small human delegation platform. He had rehearsed this moment countless times with Dr. Sandra Wells, Earth's leading expert in alien psychology. Every word, every gesture, every expression had been carefully planned to provoke exactly the response they needed. Please, honored representatives, Grant said, allowing his voice to shake slightly with what appeared to be fear. Surely there must be some mistake. Humanity has done nothing to threaten the Empire or violate Council regulations. We have been peaceful members of this great alliance for 3 years. Laughter filled the chamber. The Hive Queens clicked their mandibles in amusement, while the ethereals flickered with what Grant's briefing materials had taught him to recognize as condescension. High Counselor Vextar's serpentine form coiled around his golden platform as he looked down at the humans with obvious disdain. Fear not, little human, Vextar said in a tone one might use with a frightened child. The Empire does not wish to harm your species. You will be given a pleasant world with clean air and abundant food. Your people can live in peace without the burden of trying to manage resources they do not understand. Grant took a deep breath and delivered the line that Wells had assured him would trigger maximum alien arrogance. But honored counselor, what can humanity possibly offer in return for your generosity? We know we are weak compared to the great civilizations of the galaxy. The reaction was immediate, and exactly what Earth's strategists had predicted. Zekmoth's crystal body flashed with colors that indicated supreme confidence. The alien delegates began talking among themselves about how refreshing it was to encounter a species that understood its proper place in the galactic order. Your honesty is commendable, Zekmoth replied. Most primitive species resist civilization until they are forced to accept it. Your recognition of human limitations shows wisdom that may yet allow your kind to thrive under proper guidance. What the aliens did not know was that every word of this conversation was being recorded and analyzed by the most sophisticated intelligence network in the galaxy. Hidden sensors throughout the council chamber were capturing not just the public statements, but also the private communications between alien delegates. Human code breakers had spent years learning to decipher the encrypted messages that species used to coordinate their political activities. Agent Rebecca Jones sat in a maintenance tunnel beneath the council chamber, monitoring the alien communications with equipment that officially did not exist. Her screen showed dozens of encrypted channels carrying messages between the various faction leaders. The Hive Queens were already discussing how to divide the human colonies between themselves and their allies. The ethereals were debating which human worlds would make the best energy harvesting sites. Meanwhile, in the chamber above, Grant continued his performance as the desperate diplomat. Perhaps we could negotiate some arrangement, he pleaded. Humanity asks only for the chance to prove our worth as galactic citizens. Give us time to demonstrate that we can contribute to the prosperity of the Council. Vextar's serpentine head tilted in what passed for amusement among his species. And what could you possibly contribute that we cannot simply take? Your ships move slower than our cargo vessels. Your weapons are less advanced than our mining equipment. Your colonies produce nothing that we need and lack the infrastructure to be properly productive. The cruel laughter that followed this statement was music to Grant's ears. Every insult, every dismissive comment, every casual demonstration of alien arrogance was being transmitted back to Earth, where military planners were making final preparations for the response that would shock the galaxy. Dr. Sandra Wells watched the proceedings from the human delegation's private quarters via a hidden camera feed. As Earth's leading xenopsychologist, she had spent 15 years studying alien pride and the psychological weaknesses it created. The species of the Galactic Council had grown so accustomed to their dominance that they had forgotten how to recognize genuine threats. Perfect, Wells whispered to her assistant as Grant delivered another perfectly crafted plea for mercy. They are responding exactly as the psychological profiles predicted. Their arrogance is making them careless. Back in the council chamber, Grant was reaching the climax of his performance. Honored council members, I beg you to reconsider. Humanity has children, families, dreams of building a better future among the stars. Surely there is room in this vast galaxy for a small species that only wants to learn and grow. The emotional appeal had precisely the effect Wells had designed it to have. The alien delegates saw Grant's words as proof of human weakness and naivety. They had no concept that a species might deliberately appear vulnerable in order to manipulate stronger opponents. Zekmoth rose to his full height, his crystal form gleaming with reflected light. The decision is final. Human space will be reorganized within 6 months. Your people have that long to prepare for relocation. We suggest you use the time wisely to help your colonies understand the benefits of joining a more advanced civilization. Grant bowed his head in apparent defeat. We will need to consult with our government on Earth. This decision will require careful consideration and preparation. Of course, Vextar replied magnanimously. The council is not unreasonable. Take whatever time you need to convince your leaders to accept reality. The outcome will be the same regardless. As the council session ended, Grant walked slowly back to the human quarters with his shoulders slumped in apparent despair. Other alien delegates passed him in the corridors, some offering what they believed were comforting words about how much better human life would be under Imperial protection. What none of them realized was that Grant was fighting hard not to smile. The trap was set, and the aliens had walked into it exactly as Earth strategists had predicted they would. The Zelkarian Empire had just publicly committed itself to a course of action that would justify everything humanity was about to do in response. In a secure communication room, Grant activated the quantum transmitter that would send his report back to Earth, faster than any alien technology could detect or intercept. The message was brief and used code words that had been established years earlier. Package delivered successfully. Customer expressed complete satisfaction with the product demonstration. Recommended timeline for delivery remains 6 months. Suggest proceeding with manufacturing immediately. The reply from Earth came within minutes. Message received and understood. Manufacturing will commence immediately. Quality control teams are standing by to ensure customer satisfaction. Thank you for excellent sales work. Grant deleted both messages and prepared for the next phase of his mission. For the next several months, he would continue to play the role of the frightened diplomat, desperately trying to negotiate humanity's survival. He would visit alien officials, plead for mercy, and offer increasingly desperate compromises that the aliens would reject with growing contempt. What the galaxy did not know was that every meeting, every negotiation, and every rejection was providing Earth with more intelligence about alien capabilities and intentions. The humans who appeared to be begging for their lives were actually conducting the most sophisticated intelligence-gathering operation in galactic history, Captain. Roy Mitchell monitored the alien fleet movements from his position aboard the stealth observation ship Phantom. His vessel was hidden in the asteroid field at the edge of the Zelkarian home system, invisible to every known form of alien detection equipment. Through his sensors, he watched as the Empire began assembling the fleet that would carry out their conquest of human space. They are taking their time, Mitchell reported to his crew. 200 ships moving in perfect formation at half speed. They want everyone in the galaxy to see this fleet and understand the futility of resisting Zelkarian power. The alien admiral was making exactly the mistake that human strategists had hoped for. Instead of moving quickly to overwhelm human defenses, the Zelkarians were staging a. Admiral Zekemoth stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical displays with supreme confidence. The Zelkarian fleet had arrived at the edge of human space exactly on schedule. 200 massive dreadnoughts moved in perfect formation through the void, their crystal hulls reflecting starlight like jewels scattered across black velvet. The Admiral expected to find desperate human defenders waiting with their primitive chemical rockets and basic laser weapons. Instead, his sensors showed empty space. Where are they? Zekmoth demanded as his crystal body flashed with colors indicating confusion and growing anger. Where are the human ships? Where are their orbital defense platforms? Captain Veltar, his second-in-command, studied the scanner readings with growing unease. Admiral, our sensors detect no human vessels in this system. There are no energy signatures, no communication signals, no defensive installations. It appears the humans have abandoned their colonies. Zekmoth's form brightened with what his species recognized as contempt. Cowards. They fled rather than face the might of the Empire. Send scout ships to confirm that the human settlements are empty. We will claim these worlds without firing a single shot. The Zelkarian scout ships moved ahead of the main fleet toward the planets where human colonies were supposed to be located. Their pilots reported finding empty cities and abandoned mining facilities. The humans appeared to have evacuated completely, leaving behind only empty buildings and silent machines. What Admiral Zekmoth did not know was that his fleet was being watched by sensors more advanced than anything his species had ever imagined. Hidden throughout the star system, human observation posts tracked every Zelkarian ship and recorded every communication. The technology was so sophisticated that it could monitor alien thoughts through their bioelectric fields. Commander Samantha Price stood on the bridge of the stealth battleship Phoenix, watching the alien fleet move deeper into what they believed was empty space. Her ship was one of 30 vessels hidden throughout the system, invisible to every form of detection the Zelkarians possessed. The human fleet had been waiting in perfect silence for 3 days, ready to spring the trap that would change galactic history forever. All units, this is Phoenix Actual. Price transmitted on the secure quantum channel that connected the human fleet. Target analysis is complete. The aliens have positioned themselves exactly where our tactical computers predicted they would. Commence Operation Revelation in 60 seconds. Throughout the star system, human ships began powering up weapon systems that incorporated technology stolen from every major alien civilization. Ethereal phase drives allowed the vessels to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Hive biocomputing cores gave them reaction times faster than any purely mechanical system. Zelkarian energy weapons provided firepower that could crack planets. But the most terrifying innovation was purely human. Earth scientists had found ways to combine alien technologies that the original creators never imagined could work together. The result was ships that could do things no alien species had ever conceived of as possible. Admiral Zekmoth was studying a tactical display when the space around his fleet suddenly changed. What had appeared to be empty vacuum began shimmering like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The shimmer effect spread outward in all directions until it surrounded the entire Zelkarian formation. "Admiral," Captain Veltar said in a voice tight with fear, "our sensors are detecting massive energy buildups throughout the system. The readings are unlike anything in our databases." Before Zekmoth could respond, the shimmering space exploded into visibility. Hundreds of ships materialized around the Zelkarian fleet as their stealth systems disengaged in perfect synchronization. But these were not the crude human vessels the aliens expected to see. These ships moved with liquid grace, their hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it. They appeared and disappeared like ghosts, phasing in and out of normal space in ways that defied everything the Zelkarians knew about physics. "Impossible," Zekmoth whispered as he watched human ships phase through his own vessel's shields as if they did not exist. "How can primitive chemical rockets move like that?" The answer came in the form of weapons fire that cut through Zelkarian crystal hulls like they were made of paper. Human ships struck with surgical precision, targeting specific systems to disable rather than destroy. The aliens found their weapons offline, their engines dead, their communication systems severed. Within minutes, the pride of the Zelkarian Empire was floating helplessly in space. Captain Danny Cooper piloted his fighter through the alien formation with movements that would have been impossible for any purely mechanical craft. His ship's biocomputing core anticipated enemy movements before the aliens themselves knew what they were going to do. When Zelkarian fighters tried to intercept him, he simply phased into another dimension and emerged behind them. "This is incredible," Cooper transmitted to his squadron. "Their tactics are so predictable. Every move they make is exactly what the tactical computers said they would do. It is like fighting an enemy that can only think in straight lines." Admiral Ben Thompson commanded the stealth destroyer Wraith from a position that technically did not exist in normal space. His ship existed in a quantum state that allowed it to be in multiple locations simultaneously. When the surviving Zelkarian ships tried to retreat, Thompson demonstrated humanity's most terrifying capability. The alien ships activated their faster-than-light drives and attempted to jump to safety, but Thompson's vessel was already waiting at their destination when they arrived. The Wraith had not followed the retreating aliens through hyperspace. It had predicted where they would go and arrived there first. How is this possible? Admiral Zekmoth demanded as his flagship found itself facing a human destroyer that had somehow beaten them to their escape coordinates. No ship can predict jump destinations and arrive before the jumping vessel. Thompson's response came in the form of a communication beam that penetrated every defense the Zelkarian flagship possessed. The Admiral found himself staring at a human face for the first time in his life. The creature looked calm and confident in a way that made Zekmoth's crystal form dim with fear. "Admiral Zekmoth," Thompson said in perfect Zelkarian, "I am Commander Thompson of the Human Defense Force. Your fleet is now under our control. You will order your ships to stand down and prepare to be escorted to a secure location, where you will be held, until the Galactic Council can be properly educated about humanity's true capabilities." Zekmoth tried to respond with threats and demands, but found that his communication systems would only transmit on frequencies that the humans allowed. His weapons would not fire, his engines would not respond, and his navigation computer showed impossible readings that suggested his ship was somehow in 17 different locations at the same time. Across the galaxy, other alien governments watched in stunned silence as their most powerful military force was systematically captured by the species they had dismissed as primitive. The battle was being broadcast live through communication networks that the aliens had not known existed. Every government, every military leader, every citizen of every species saw the Zelkarian Empire's ultimate humiliation, but the most shocking moment was yet to come. As the last Zelkarian ship surrendered, every screen in the galaxy suddenly displayed the same image. General Frank Walker, Earth's supreme military commander, appeared before billions of alien beings for the first time in human history. "Citizens of the galaxy," Walker began in a voice that was calm but carried undertones of absolute authority. "For 50 years, humanity has watched and waited while your governments debated our fate. You have dismissed us as primitive, weak, and unworthy of respect. Today we reveal the truth." Walker's image was accompanied by displays showing the true extent of human capabilities. Star maps revealed observation posts throughout alien space that had been monitoring every government for decades. Technical diagrams showed weapons and ships that combined technologies from every major civilization in ways their creators had never imagined. "We know the location of every fleet, every weapon, every military installation of every species in this galaxy," Walker continued. "We have operatives in your governments, your militaries, your most secure facilities. We have watched your wars, studied your tactics, and learned from your mistakes. And until now, we have chosen peace." The images shifted to show human agents embedded deep within alien society. Trusted advisors to alien leaders were revealed to be humans in disguise. Scientists working on secret military projects turned out to be human spies. Even some of the guards protecting the most secure alien facilities had been human operatives for years. The Zelkarian Empire chose to threaten humanity with conquest, Walker said as the displays showed the captured alien fleet being escorted by human ships that moved like living creatures. They believed they were dealing with a weak species that would surrender without resistance. Instead, they have discovered that humanity has spent decades preparing for this moment. The broadcast concluded with a simple statement that sent shockwaves through every government in the galaxy. Earth extends an invitation to all species to join us in building a new galactic order, based on mutual respect and genuine cooperation. The silence that followed General Walker's broadcast lasted for 3 days and 17 hours. During that time, not a single alien ship moved through space. No government issued any official statements, and no military commander anywhere in the galaxy dared to activate their weapon systems. The species that had ruled the stars for thousands of years suddenly found themselves frozen with uncertainty about everything. They thought they knew about power and survival. Admiral Lisa Carter stood before the reconvened Galactic Council in the same chamber where aliens had laughed at humanity just months earlier. But the atmosphere now was completely different. Where once there had been casual arrogance and dismissive laughter, now there was tense silence and barely controlled fear. The alien delegates sat rigidly on their platforms, afraid to make any sudden movements that might be interpreted as threatening. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Carter began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. "Humanity requests the opportunity to address recent events and discuss the future relationship between our species and the rest of galactic civilization." High Counselor Vextars Serpentine form was coiled tightly around his platform in what human observers recognized as a defensive posture. His voice, once filled with condescending authority, now carried notes of uncertainty and fear. Admiral Carter, the Council is prepared to hear humanity's position regarding the recent military actions. Carter smiled slightly as she remembered sitting in this same chamber being told that humans were too primitive to manage their own colonies. Thank you, Counselor. First, let me address the Zelkarian situation. The captured fleet is being held in comfortable detention facilities, where the crews are receiving excellent medical care and recreational opportunities. No harm has come to any alien personnel, and none will come to them as long as their government chooses to cooperate with the new galactic order. The phrase "new galactic order" sent visible ripples of unease through the assembled delegates. The Hive Queen's mandibles clicked nervously while the ethereals flickered with patterns that human intelligence had learned to recognize as anxiety. These were species that had never imagined they might someday find themselves subject to the will of others. Captain Jake Morrison, no longer playing the role of the nervous junior diplomat, activated a holographic display that showed the true extent of human capabilities. The images revealed observation posts throughout alien space, stealth ships monitoring every major trade route, and communication networks that could penetrate any security system the galaxy had ever developed. For 50 years, humanity has been studying galactic civilization, Morrison explained as the displays showed alien governments being watched by human agents they had never suspected. We have observed your wars, analyzed your technologies, and learned from your successes and failures. What we discovered was a galaxy ruled by fear and maintained through the threat of violence. Commander Ryan Phillips presented intelligence reports that demonstrated the depth of human infiltration into alien society. Trusted advisors to major leaders were revealed to be human operatives. Scientists working on classified military projects had been reporting their discoveries to Earth for decades. Even the security forces protecting the most sensitive alien facilities included human agents who had been gathering intelligence while appearing to serve alien interests. The question now, Carter continued, is whether the galaxy wishes to continue operating under the old system of might makes right, or whether you are ready to join humanity in building something better. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stepped forward with biological and psychological profiles of every major alien species. Her research revealed weaknesses and behavioral patterns that humans had been studying for generations. We understand how each of your species thinks, how you make decisions, and what motivates your actions. This knowledge was gathered not to exploit you, but to find ways for all species to coexist peacefully. The assembled aliens began to understand the true scope of what humanity had accomplished. They had not simply built superior weapons or faster ships. They had created a comprehensive understanding of galactic civilization that allowed them to predict and counter any possible threat before it could develop. High Admiral Zekmoth appeared on a communication screen from his detention facility. The once proud Zelkarian leader looked diminished and confused as he addressed his former peers. Council members, I must report that human capabilities exceed anything in our databases. Their ships move in ways that violate known physics. Their weapons combine technologies that should be impossible to integrate. Most disturbing of all, they seem to know our tactical responses before we make them. President Victoria King's image appeared on screens throughout the galaxy as she prepared to address all species simultaneously. Her message was broadcast through communication networks that aliens had not known existed, reaching every inhabited world and every space vessel in the galaxy at the same time. Citizens of the galaxy, King began, humanity stands at a crossroads with all of you. We can continue the old patterns of conquest and domination that have brought suffering to countless worlds, or we can work together to build a civilization based on cooperation and mutual respect. The images accompanying King's speech showed human ships rescuing alien survivors from natural disasters, human scientists sharing medical discoveries that had saved millions of alien lives, and human diplomats working to prevent wars between alien species. What the galaxy was seeing for the first time was evidence that humanity had been quietly helping them for decades, without asking for recognition or reward. We do not seek to rule you, King continued. We seek to offer you a choice. Join us in creating a galaxy where differences are celebrated rather than feared, where conflicts are resolved through negotiation rather than warfare, where the strong protect the weak instead of exploiting them. Colonel Nina Brooks presented psychological analyses that explained why the old galactic order had been doomed to eventual collapse. Species that ruled through fear and violence inevitably created enemies who would eventually find ways to destroy them. The cycle of conquest and rebellion had repeated itself throughout galactic history with devastating consequences for everyone involved. Humanity offers stability, Brooks explained to the assembled delegates. Not the false stability of overwhelming force, but the true stability that comes from systems that benefit everyone involved. We have studied your histories and learned from your mistakes. The response from alien governments began slowly, but gathered momentum as species realized they had no choice but to adapt to the new reality. The Hive Queens were the first to formally request alliance with humanity, recognizing that their swarm tactics were useless against ships that could predict their movements. The Ethereals followed soon after, understanding that their energy-based advantages meant nothing against opponents who had developed weapons specifically designed to counter them. But the most significant change was in the Zelkarian Empire itself. With their fleet captured and their military superiority revealed to be an illusion, the crystal beings found themselves forced to reconsider their entire approach to galactic politics. Emperor Zelkanus appeared before the council via hologram to formally apologize for the Empire's aggressive actions and request humanity's guidance in developing more peaceful policies. We have ruled through strength for 1,000 years, the Emperor admitted, his crystal form dim with what his species recognized as shame. But we now understand that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to build. We ask humanity to teach us how to be worthy members of this new galactic order. Trade agreements were renegotiated within weeks as alien governments scrambled to establish positive relationships with Earth. Technologies that had been closely guarded secrets were suddenly offered freely as species, competed to demonstrate their value as allies rather than threats. Scientific cooperation replaced military competition as the primary focus of interspecies relations. Dr. Sandra Wells presented her analysis of how the new galactic order would function. Instead of a few powerful species dominating everyone else, the galaxy would be organized around principles of mutual benefit and shared responsibility. Conflicts would be resolved through mediation rather than warfare. Resources would be shared equitably rather than hoarded by the strongest. The old system failed because it was based on fear, Wells explained to the council. Fear breeds hatred, and hatred eventually breeds violence. The new system is based on hope, cooperation, and the understanding that everyone benefits when everyone prospers. Within 6 months, the Galactic Council had been completely restructured with humanity holding a permanent leadership position. But unlike the old system where leadership meant the right to dominate others, human leadership focused on coordination and cooperation. Earth's role was not to rule the galaxy but to guide it toward better solutions to common problems. The most profound change was psychological. Alien species that had spent millennia preparing for war suddenly found themselves planning for peace. Military budgets were redirected toward scientific research and infrastructure development. Weapons that had once threatened entire star systems were dismantled, and their materials used to build hospitae.